Welcome to a world of sewing, where hours of repetitious labor are whisked away at a touch of a control, where threading is always simple and there are new and more stitches to choose from. Now you are in a world where you can sew ambitious projects with confidence. You can sew a seam or make a dress, reinforce a sleeve, create a border or embroider a sampler, monogram initials, or create your own personal signature. The possibilities are endless. Welcome to the world of the Kenmore computerized model 19365 sewing machine. Congratulations! You have made a wise choice in selecting your Kenmore computerized model 19365 sewing machine. It will bring you year after year of dependable service. You know you can trust the Kenmore name, and with the help of this video, your printed owner's manual, and a little practice, you will be taking on even advanced sewing projects without a worry. We divided this video into 4 sections: the instructions, which you are watching now, the basics that will get you started, how to do conventional stitches, and then how to do more advanced stitches. As you can see, each section is color coordinated. With these cues, you should find each section quickly, and because VCR counters will vary, you may even want to zero the counter on your VCR and make a note as to when each section appears on the tape. This way, you can refer quickly to a particular section. Now, take a minute to acquaint yourself with this Kenmore machine. This model comes with foot control, power cord, and standard accessories stored in the accessory storage box. You can store your accessories simply by keeping them in the machine. Here are some of the essential parts of the machine that we will be referring to: the liquid crystal display, keypad, sewing speed control lever, language selection dial, screen sharpness adjustment dial, thread tension dial, presser foot lifter, needle threader, thread cutter, hand wheel, light and power switch, and the machine sockets. This is the screen sharpness adjustment dial. Use this to adjust the sharpness of the liquid crystal display. If no indication shows up on the screen after you switch on the power, adjust the screen sharpness with this dial. Set the indication mark at the dot with the end of the lint brush to select the language you need. You can select one of 3 languages: English, Spanish, or French. After your selection, the desired language will be shown on the screen. Remember, you can also get specific information quickly from the enclosed owner's manual, and beyond that, advice on the operation and care of your machine is always available at your nearest Sears store and service center. Now, let us get started on the basics. You begin the sewing process by turning on the machine and threading it. The first step in threading is to wind the bobbin thread. You wind the bobbin thread because to make a stitch, the machine needs 2 sources of threads, one from the actual thread spool and another from this bobbin. To wind the bobbin thread, lift the spool pin. Then put the spool of thread onto the spool pin with thread winding this way and put on the spool holder. Remove the bobbin cover plate by sliding the hook cover plate release button to the right and remove the bobbin like this. Pull the thread around the bobbin thread guide like this. Now place the end of the thread through the bobbin so that it comes out through the top like this. Once you have done that, put it on the bobbin winding spindle. Push the bobbin winding spindle to the right until it clicks. Now turn on the power switch and hold on to the end of the thread and press down on the foot control. Wind just enough thread so that the first wrap is secured. Clip the thread end and slowly start the machine again. Wind the thread until the bobbin stops. You will notice the message bobbin winding on the liquid crystal display. During the bobbin winding, all other keys and buttons will be turned off. It slows down and stops automatically even though you have your foot on the control. Now push the bobbin winding spindle to the left. Clip the thread and remove the bobbin. Now information for the straight stitch will appear on the liquid crystal display. The selected pattern appears clearly on the liquid crystal display with symbols and/or numbers, and it tells you the foot you should use at the same time. Now put the bobbin back in the bobbin holder and make sure you feed the thread counterclockwise. Then pull out about 4 inches of thread towards you through this tension slot. Then pull the thread clockwise toward the back of the machine through this second slot. Finally, put the bobbin cover plate back on, leaving about 4 inches of thread sticking out like this. Over here, there are arrows to guide you along the threading path. Preparing your top thread is the last step before you're off and sewing. Raise the take-up lever to the highest position by turning the hand wheel towards you. Raise the presser foot lifter, put the thread on the spool pin. Now watch the threading path, slide it through this thread guide and follow the arrows down, around, and up, and then through the top of the take-up lever, down and through the 2 thread guides. With the needle still at its highest point, pull down the needle threader arm as far as it will go, and push the black knob away from you to bring the horizontal arm forward. Pull the thread to your left and under the guide, then back to the right and under the hook which pulls it through the eye of the needle. Holding onto the thread firmly with your right hand, pull the needle threader knob forwards and then upwards to pull the thread through the eye of the needle. Then hold the end of the thread from the top spool with your left hand. Press this up-down needle position button twice, and now bring a loop of the bobbin thread up. That's the bobbin thread. Pull both threads under the presser foot and to the back of the presser foot, leaving clear 4 to 6 inches of the thread. And now you are ready to sew. In the next section, we will learn some conventional stitches that will help you do most of your basic sewing projects. Turn off the power switch when you are not sewing for your safety. Sewing used to be a mountain of chores, however, no longer with this Kenmore machine. Now it is easy to do most common sewing tasks simply by knowing a few stitches. In the same way we work through the threading of your machine, we will learn 3 primary stitches: the straight stitch, the zigzag stitch, and the mending stitch. First, let's set the thread tension dial and sewing speed control lever. Set the thread tension dial at A for ordinary sewing to get automatically balanced thread tension. The auto tension green light comes on. Adjusting needle thread tension may be required when using some types of fabrics and threads. Now let us look at the sewing speed control lever. You can see how the maximum sewing speed can be set by this speed setting lever. To increase the maximum sewing speed, slide the lever to the right. To decrease the maximum sewing speed, slide the lever to the left. Using this function, you can set the maximum speed of your foot control. The most common and versatile of your stitches is the straight stitch. You can use the straight stitch for a regular seam as well as pin tucking, quilting, zippers, top stitching, basting, and gathering. The Kenmore machine makes the straight stitch very easy. When you turn on the machine, it automatically is set to sew a straight stitch in the direct mode 1. After you thread the machine, raise the presser foot like this. Put the fabric under the presser foot with the edge of the fabric next to a seam guide. See them on the needle plate. Lower the presser foot and press the foot control. Hold the fabric loosely. Gently guide it along the line so that it feeds naturally. At the end of sewing, you may want to reverse by touching this reverse stitch button for 3 or 4 stitches to lock in the seam. When you have done that, raise the presser foot, pull out the fabric, and cut the thread with your convenient thread cutter. The zigzag stitch is one of the most common and versatile stitches on your machine. It can be a utility stitch for sewing buttons, hemming, and overcasting. It can be used to decorate with trims, appliques, and cut work, or as a decorative stitch. There is more than one type of zigzag stitch. Consult the charts in your printed owner's manual for the zigzag stitch that best suits your sewing projects. Our demonstration will be for the basic zigzag stitch. The zigzag is so common that this Kenmore machine has a special direct entry pad for it. Therefore, you do not need to enter the number. The basic zigzag stitch is direct mode 4, so we touch this pad. You notice a foot A on the display. This tells you the presser foot to use. There are different types of presser feet for different types of stitches. For your zigzag stitch, be sure to use a zigzag foot. For this demonstration, we will use foot A. Now pull back the threads and line up the fabric on the guide. Check the thread tension, it should be set at A. Then lower the presser foot, press the foot control, and away you go. When you have completed your zigzag stitch, touch your reverse stitch button to secure your seam. You can see that selecting stitches on this Kenmore machine is a lot like programming a microwave oven or making a selection from a vending machine. The panel features not only stitch selection, but also variations on a particular stitch you are working on. For instance, these pads control width of zigzag stitches, and for this stitch it is preset at 5 millimeters. If you want to change the width, just touch the plus key for a wider width or the minus key for a narrower width. These pads set the stitch length for both straight and zigzag stitches. Again, it is preset, but if you want to change the length, just continue to touch the plus key for a longer stitch or the minus key for a shorter stitch. The buttonhole section is on the direct mode here. You can see that the panel offers 3 types of buttonholes. To the right, you see the variety of special conventional stitches. Now let's go back to the top of the panel and demonstrate a simple mending stitch. The mending stitch is actually a variation on a regular zigzag stitch, so it will use the same foot as your simple zigzag stitch, foot A. Again, this is such a common stitch that this Kenmore machine has a special direct entry pad for it. Here, it's direct mode 5. Use the same starting procedure for the mending stitch as you did for the zigzag stitch. Just use the touch pad direct mode 5 instead of 4. To repair a straight tear, position the tear under the needle so that stitching will catch both sides. If the tear has a corner, use a piece of fabric under the tear to reinforce your mending. Then stitch from each end to the center. The mending stitch is especially useful for sewing patches smoothly and securely, for repairing straight tears, for finishing seams on terry cloth, And it's also great for sewing bar tacks for belt loops and drapery pleats. This truly is a celebration for this household. These homemade touches will bring warmth and happiness. Sewing projects that used to take a month's advanced preparation are now quickly and easily done with this Kenmore machine. In this section, we will look at some advanced stitches you may use for more intricate sewing projects. Even these more ambitious projects become easy when you use this Kenmore machine. You will learn the blind hem, a variety of decorative stitches, how to make buttonholes automatically, and finally, the overedge seam. Making a blind hem used to take a lot of careful, tedious hand sewing to get the professionally finished look. With this Kenmore machine, though, you can accomplish this project much faster and more precisely than you ever dreamed possible. Begin by finishing the edge of your hem. You can use just about any stitch to do this, though many people prefer the overedge stitch, Direct Mode 6. Use the overedge foot C. Measure, turn up your hem, and pin it. For lightweight fabrics, you may need a double fold. Here's what we want a blind hem stitch to look like. The points barely touch the fold in the material. Now let's go over the checklist of setting up the machine for the blind hem. The thread tension should be at A. Use the blind hem foot G here. To change to the foot, simply press the red button on the back of the foot holder. Keep in mind the presser foot must be raised up while you are doing this. Then place the presser foot so that the pin on the foot lines up under the groove on the foot holder. Lower the presser foot holder using the presser foot lever to lock the presser foot in place. Now call up Blue Mode 21 on the touchpad for a traditional blind hem stitch, which is for woven fabrics. The Stretch Blind Hem Stitch is Direct Mode 7, and you use it for stretch fabrics because it's stronger and more elastic. Fold the material on the edge to be stitched, leaving 1/4 of an inch of the finished hem edge showing. Turn the sliding guide screws so that the sliding guide is very close to the side of the blind hem foot. Place the fold of the fabric against the sliding guide so that a 1/4 inch extending edge shows on the right. The long zigzag stitch should barely pierce the folded edge of the fabric, but still sew on the 1/4 inch extended edge. After hemming, press both sides of the finished hem. The right side of the garment will show the blind stitches. The blind hem, what used to be a tedious or professionals only task, is now easy with this Kenmore machine. One of the best parts of sewing is seeing how creative you can be. With this Kenmore machine, your clothes, your home, or gifts to others can be uniquely your own creation. Here's a sample of what this model can do with decorative stitches. You can sew one row or several, or vary the stitch width or the length for special effects. Or try experimenting on a scrap of fabric to see what special effects are possible. Your thread tension should be set at A. Now call up one of the decorative stitches that are listed on the panel. Let's try the Duck 73 in Blue Mode. Use the satin stitch foot F as shown on the screen. Mark the lines for the decoration on the fabric using a washable fabric marker. Then lower the needle at the starting point. Lower the presser foot. Lock the stitch at the beginning by pressing auto lock. Then gently guide the fabric along that marked line. Then use the auto lock to secure the row of stitches at the end. Ducks, and lots of them. Now be even more creative if you wish, because this Kenmore machine has a computer memory. You can program it to do a series of decorative stitches. Here's an example. How about alternating the flowers with the leaves? Simply add the patterns ahead of time. Touch the first stitch pattern, which is a flower. That's number 89 in blue mode. Then touch the memory button. Then touch the next stitch pattern, which is leaves, number 92 in blue mode. Finally, just touch the memory button. Then when you press the foot control, it makes the combined pattern automatically. If you make a mistake while you are programming a pattern series, just touch Clear and it will clear the last pattern you just entered. Then simply enter the correct pattern. The Clear button only deletes patterns one at a time, beginning with the one you just entered. This means you don't have to start from the beginning if you make a mistake. You can mix, match, or modify these decorative patterns, and you can monogram without even changing the stitch foot. Have some fun, be creative. Now you can get the tailor-made look by a touch of a button with your Kenmore machine. Imagine buttonholes just the right length, flat, no puckering, both sides the same, and it takes just seconds to make. You can do it with buttonholes to meet every sewing need. The square buttonhole, round end buttonhole, and keyhole buttonhole are so common that they have their own special direct entry pads. Two more decorative buttonholes for knit and stretch materials can also be found in the blue mode. All 5 buttonholes are made in the same way. Here's how you get started. Take out automatic buttonhole foot R from the accessory kit, which is located in the extension table. You can see it's a bit different from the other feet. To change feet, raise the presser foot, then push the red button on the back of the foot holder. Attach your automatic buttonhole foot on the foot holder. Open the button holder by pulling it back like this. Put the button you intend to use into the button holder and then press the back of the holder to lock the button in place. Draw both threads toward the left under the foot. Put the garment in place. Choose from one of the 3 styles on the direct entry pad or from one of the 2 decorative buttonholes in blue mode. Lower the needle to its lowest position. Lower the presser foot. Lower the buttonhole lever to its lowest position. Then, just press your foot control. It's very important to keep your foot pressed down until the machine stops by itself. As you can see, it uses both the straight stitch and zigzag stitch to make each side match. To repeat the process, move the garment to the next buttonhole position, touch the appropriate buttonhole style again on the control pad, and again depress the foot control. The buttonholes are set for a standard width and stitch density. If you want to vary the setting, simply press the plus or minus on the stitch width to widen or narrow your entire buttonhole. The stitch length button controls stitch density. Press the plus or minus to adjust the stitch density of the entire buttonhole for fine or coarse stitches. Once you have completed your buttonholes, the only thing left to do is to carefully cut the opening with the buttonhole opener in your accessory box. A tedious, time-consuming job now completed perfectly with a touch of the foot control, thanks to the Kenmore computerized model 19365. The overedge stitch is a type of reinforced zigzag stitch. You use it when you want a narrow seam that you don't need to press open flat. It's ideal for 1/4-inch seams on knits or on medium to heavyweight woven fabrics where you want a narrow seam. It's also a great seam finish for seams that will be pressed open. This Kenmore machine gives you flexibility and precision to accomplish this task. Let's begin by selecting stitch number 6 in direct mode. Attach the overedge foot C and set the thread tension at 1 to A. Place your fabric so that the raw edges touch the black ridge. Then lower the presser foot and gently guide the fabric so that the raw edges always touch the black ridge. If you sew over several layers of fabric, raise the presser foot slightly to ease the presser foot over the hump and keep the stitches from bunching up. When you have finished, remove the fabric by drawing it to the back and then out. The stitching will catch on the wire guides if you pull it toward you. A similar stitch to the overedge stitch is the double edge zigzag stitch. It's used for sewing fabrics which tend to fray extensively, like gabardine or linen. Select stitch number 12 in blue mode when using the double edge zigzag stitch. The overedge seam is another hard job made easy with this Kenmore machine. When you press the Stock Call key after memorizing patterns or editing patterns, the currently registered patterns will be deleted and new patterns will be stored. You can recall the stored patterns simply by pressing the Stock Call key. You can store a maximum of 50 memorized patterns. You cannot memorize or store the direct mode patterns and the buttonholes. This stitch can be elongated up to 5 times its normal length by pressing the elongation key. When the width or the length of stitches changed, a greater variety of patterns are available. Now, let's take a look at how to memorize a pattern and elongate a stitch. Press Blue Mode key and select the stitch pattern 46. Press Memory key. Select stitch pattern 46 again. Press elongation key twice. Press Memory key. Now you can get twice the stitch length of the normal stitch size. The Blue Mode patterns from 40 to 55 are available for elongation. By using the editing functions, you can get extra variations of the elongated stitches in a memorized pattern. The stitch length and width of the memorized patterns can be adjusted at one time, as the entire program's stitch patterns are memorized as one group. Now, let's start to adjust the zigzag width in blue mode. Memorize stitch patterns 48, 46, and 48. Press zigzag width key. Press minus key to set the zigzag width at 5. After this setting, the zigzag width of all of the 3 patterns is automatically set at 5. You can also adjust the stitch width and length of the memorized patterns individually by using the Edit key. For example, you can change the length, width, and elongation of any particular pattern in the memorized patterns of 48, 46, and 48. First, press the Edit key. Press the zigzag width key plus or minus to slide the cursor where you would like to change the stitch length elongation. Press Message key. Press Elongation key twice to get a double length elongation, and press Message key again. Press the zigzag width key plus or minus to slide the cursor where you would like to change the stitch pattern width. Press Message key. Press zigzag width key minus to reduce width, and press Message key again. Now you have caught a glimpse of a world of sewing where hours of repetitious labor are whisked away with a touch of a control, where threading is always simple and there is a large variety of stitches to choose from. A world where you can sew ambitious projects with confidence. The possibilities are endless. Welcome to the world of the Kenmore computerized model 19365 sewing machine.